welcome to Youth in Politics. I'm your host, Justin Chenette, and we have a very special guest in store for you today. He is the host of the nationally syndicated late-night show, Late Night Republic, that airs on Fox, CW, and My Network TV affiliates, which is really exciting. His name is Jake Sasseville.
Oh my God, Sasseville, I like the way you pronounce that. It's nice to meet you, Justin.
Nice to meet you, too.
Can I say, I've been watching you for a few months. I found you, someone sent me a link of you, and they said, this guy, he reminds me of you when I was your, because I'm a little older. And I said, oh my God, you are like the male version, the male political version of Susie Orman.
Oh, geez.
You're just incredible.
Well, thank you.
Just an incredible personality coming through and seeing people in their homes, and there you are.
Well, you started at age 14, right?
Look at you keeping us on the... I got to tell you, I've had a little diarrhea getting ready for this interview. I've been a little nervous because you're very hard-hitting. You're very political, and I'm not political at all.
Well, this is more of a soft news format.
Is it soft?
Just for you.
Then I'll take off my glasses.
I like your glasses.
You like the red glasses?
They're very snazzy.
All right.
Very
As you like. Maybe I'll put them on when I need to act smart.
Well, you started at age 14, which is really exciting, with a local public access station, correct?
Here in Maine, in Auburn. We're in Maine right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. In Auburn, Maine, Great Falls Television, I was 100 pounds heavier, and I really did not belong on television. And I went in and I said, excuse me, I'd like my own TV show. And he said, you can have your, you know how local access works, you can have it if you can do it.
Right.
And so I just did it. Wow. And I worked at Subway, making minimum wage, and I used all that money to do the show. To do the show, yeah.
And how did that spiral into where you're at now with hosting a nationally syndicated network?
A lot of failure. Truly a lot of failure, and it was a lot of failure, a lot of success. Basically, I was 15 and I did the show on local access for 2 years, and then I said, I need a celebrity on the show. So I just started shaking down. See, what you got to do is just shake down celebrities.
Now, what does that mean, shake down?
Well, you got to do what you got to do to get in their face.
Right, you just got to get
appropriately, of course.
Right.
So I started writing letters to all of the parents and brothers and sisters of celebrities that I wanted on the show when I was like 17, and then eventually I got the cast of Will and Grace, which was on NBC for a while, and I went to LA and did that and came back, and then I bought time on TV. So you can actually buy time on certain stations.
And this was at a national station you were starting to buy time.
No, it was local. It was
local
here in Maine, on another affiliate, which we're not going to name.
Right. Okay.
I don't talk about them anymore because they screwed me over.
Now how much was that? Because you were what, 17 years old. I mean, buying time.
It was a few $100s.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it was a bad time slot. Nothing like what I'm getting now on WPME at 11:30 p.m. Fantastic. And so we did it here in Maine. Then I went to college, and then I realized, oh my gosh, I'm actually a big fish in a very small pond. So I said, well, what do I do? And so I just started doing anything. I started just contacting producers, and it was about 2 years in. I was about 20, and I said, no one's going to do this for me. Like, if I want to get this done, I'm going to have to do it myself.
And you dropped out of college, correct?
Well, I did right before I dropped out. Yeah, you dropped out of college. Yeah, my dad actually told me to drop out. He said,
oh, he did?
Because what happened was I was 20, and I said, well, there's nothing on after Kimmel on ABC, and so maybe I can be Jake after Jimmy Kimmel. And so that sort of took off, and I launched for a brief period on ABC affiliates around the country, and I bought time again. And then that's when I dropped out of college. I went to college for 3 years, but then it just became very silly to go to college.
So with the ABC deal, you set that all up yourself. You took the initiative to do that. No one actually contacted you and say, hey, we're going to offer you a TV deal.
Yeah, no, nobody did. Nobody did. In fact, what happened was I made a website called jakeafterjimmy.com, and I said, well, what's the best way to go about this? And I said, well, I have to go promote it. So I went on the road to all these college campuses with Kanye West and OneRepublic. I basically tagged on to their music tour. And I just started telling kids, go to jakeafterjimmy.com. They'd send in, I want my Jake After Jimmy, and I would start spamming ABC executives around the country, different programming, and they would send emails, I want my Jake After Jimmy, and these people were like, who's Jake, and what's he talking about? 100,000 emails later, in the course of a 4-week period, 100,000 emails, and I got on after Kimmel, in most of the markets that I was in.
Quite an experience.
It's quite an experience. It's quite an experience to be here with you.
Well,
you don't seem to like compliments very much.
Well, no, it's good. We're here to talk about you.
I know, but I don't want to. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna be honest. I really.
Well, I mean, for normal, teenagers, they don't really. It's hard for them to kind of think long term, like you were doing, and really taking that initiative. What would you tell, young people that are still trying to figure out what they want to do for the rest of their life, and not only determining that, but also their passion. I mean, that's always a difficult thing for young people.
Yeah, I never understood why people don't know their passion. To be honest with you, if we're having a real I think we're having a real conversation, right?
It's very real.
It's very real. You're so funny. You really amuse me. I never understood that because I've always sort of known, I mean, my passion is not TV per se. My passion is entertaining people, and TV just happens to be the way that I do it, and getting in front of people and doing a whole bunch of different things. So, you know, I always looked at, well, what kind of conversations was I having in my head? What was I, and I think it's important to ask the right questions of yourselves. A lot of people say, well, why me, or why now, or why is this happening, or why can't I figure out a way to do it? These are not empowering questions. People ask me all the time, what's my advice? I have no business giving anybody advice, let me tell you. With this big of hair and how many times I've failed, I have no business. But what I can say is that what's consistently gotten me through in any challenge that I've had is the ability to ask really good questions of myself and of the people around me.
Soul searching.
A lot of soul searching. Yeah, for me, Justin, to be honest with you, I know you don't usually talk about this in mainstream media, but spirituality and financial and business success actually went hand in hand. When I started aligning with who I was spiritually, my business just took off, and I started to make a lot of money. And
let's talk about the business aspect when you first started.
As you like. The camel knows the way.
There's an article that I found from the Sun Journal, and there was an article that you were featured in back in 2009, September, to be exact.
Okay.
And you said this: I basically ran myself into $1 million worth of debt with the program. It took me a year to turn it around.
Yeah.
In reference to your ABC
Why am I
show,
sweating under my armpits?
The Edge with Jake Sasseville.
Yeah.
So, you know, what happened with that, and how did you how did you get in that mess, and how did you turn it around to get to a successful show with Late Night Republic?
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? So I after Kimmel, I launched after Kimmel on these ABC affiliates, and I was running and gunning it. I mean, I convinced Ford and Overstock.com to give me a couple $100,000, and that was very good. You know, it was like moving in. I was 21 years old, but I had no clue how to run a company. Excuse me. So when you don't know how to run a company and you're forced to run a company, you make a lot of big mistakes. Mine just happened to be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is unfortunate. And I had no clue how to get myself out. So I basically we had to walk away from the old show. I basically ran myself into such an amount of debt, professional business debt, that I was pulled off the air in all the markets because I couldn't afford to keep paying my way on air, and I just basically was off the air for like 9 months until I decided. And what I had to do, speaking of soul searching, is I had to go in and I had to say, do I really want this? Like, this is not just doing a career as an executive or even as someone in television. This actually takes chutzpah, and it takes determination, and it takes perseverance. And do I really want this? And the answer was, yeah, I do. And I was in England. I actually moved to England. I sold the car that Ford gave me as an advertiser, which apparently is not ethical. I don't have a problem with that. I sold the car. I took the money. I went to England, and I asked myself these questions. I said, do I really want it? The answer was yes. And so then I came back to New York, and I just started plowing through and started to turn things around. And then Late Night Republic was created because we really wanted to create a democracy. We wanted to create a voice in late night television. Late night television, as in with most of television, is exclusive, right? There's people in LA and New York that do it, and people in the middle of the country, they don't have any business in it. And we said, well, everything's changing now with the internet, so let's make it inclusive. Let's create a democracy. Let's create a republic. Republic, that's right.
We're going to delve into this more when we come back right after this on Youth in Politics. Don't go away. Hello and welcome back to Youth in Politics. I'm Justin Chenette, and once again, I'm joined with the nationally syndicated host, Jake Sasseville.
You make me excited when you say that. I forget, you know, because you forget sometimes when you're in the middle of it that, wow, we have a show that people watch all over. Don't put words in my mouth,
Well, you're in 50 million households.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big number.
It's half the country. It's good. It's moving up, and we're cracking the top 5 markets now, which is big and important to do. And if you want to succeed in television, it's all very good.
And so, do you have your own production company that produces this program that works with these affiliates?
Yeah, good question. So basically, what I've done is, because a lot of people, they say, well, how do you put yourself on TV? Because what I learned from my experience on ABC after Kimmel is that you can't buy your way on air and be sustainable. So what I did was I syndicated my show, but I knew that I had to do it differently. So I went, and instead of finding a syndication company to do it for me, I hired someone who had done syndication for companies in the past. Right? So you have to sort of think innovatively and creatively as you're building up your business. So yeah, my production company handles all of the business, handles all of the creative, handles all of the sales, and handles all of the production of the TV show, which means that we own it outright, which is a phenomenal situation.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it short. You people told me to keep it short. I'm keeping it short.
Okay, let me make it even shorter.
Oh.
If you could sum up Late Night Republic, which is the new program, in one phrase or one sentence, what would it be?
What would it be if I were to sum it up? I would say incredibly engaging. I don't know. I wasn't prepared for these questions, Justin.
You don't get them beforehand. This is off the cuff.
Not at Justin Chenette headquarters. Headquarters right here. Yeah, I would say it's very engaging, and the show itself is very irreverent. We're going into our next season right now. We're starting to film next week, and just a lot of spontaneity. And hopefully a lot of commentary on society. I really look at Late Night Republic, and I know this isn't just a phrase, but I really look at Late Night Republic as the ability to take the pulse of the generation and take the pulse of society and sort of feed that back into the consciousness of the people that we're reaching and that make up our audience. Yeah.
Has there been an episode that's really stood out in your mind so far that was really like the feather in your cap?
You know, I got to say, I haven't been proud of an entire episode. Okay. I've been proud of segments within episodes. Okay. It's a work in progress. This show is a work in progress, like many of us in America, right? And so I don't run away from that anymore. There have been segments where I thought, ooh, this is good. When my writers came to me and they said, well, why don't you go interview a nude female model? I said, that's nice. But frankly, that's kind of chauvinistic. So instead what we did is I said, well, come back to me with something better. And they said, well, why don't you take off all your clothes too? And I'm one to take off my clothes anytime, anywhere, people. So I took my clothes off and I interviewed a nude female model. And her quote was, when we started doing it, the modeling, she said, Conan would never do this. And that's what I really want this show to be about, to really take it to that edge.
Very unique.
Very unique, and it says something about society and their issues with their body image. So it's very important to be truthful, I find, in television. Yeah.
And you're taking this message on the road. You just visited, what, 45 cities?
40 cities. 40 cities, 60 days. Yeah, I mean, basically, I went to universities and I met with local news people and community leaders and movers and shakers in our age group around the country, and just said, look, this is what we're doing. TV's not going to go anywhere. It's all going to converge. So as it converges, let's create something really unique with Late Night Republic. And that's what we've been working on.
And how does Late Night Republic converge? Like, it has a website, obviously, but how is it really tapping into the 21st century tools to connect with the younger audiences?
It's a good question. We've tripped up on it, and in the last 6 months we've really been focused on it. Obviously YouTube and having that channel, and having the channel online is very important, but to really craft a show that's based on user feedback and user weigh-in, right? I want people to be able to come to our website, our new website, which is launching in a few weeks, and be able to submit ideas and be a part of the crafting of their own late night show. So I think that's how we remain ahead of the wave.
Can you give an example of somebody who has submitted feedback to you and you've actually implemented it in your program?
Well, someone told me to lose weight, and I've been losing weight.
Well, there was actually a little article about that, the fact that you've lost 100 pounds.
Lost 100 pounds.
How did you do that?
Do I look svelte?
Was it the Subway that you worked at? Was it
I had a low carb lifestyle. I had a low carb lifestyle. I exercised, and I said I got to change my mindset, because one thing that I've learned consistently when I'm not doing TV is I've learned how to run my mind. And if you can learn how to run your mind, you can literally do anything. I mean, it's one thing to say, oh, I want to be determined, but it's another thing to say, I want to understand how my mind works, and then I want to run it. So that's how I lost 100 pounds, and now I'm losing my last 40 because I'm going for an 8-pack. I don't know if that's possible, but I've never had an 8-pack, and I'd like the feeling of what it feels like.
So that way, when you take off your clothes in front of more nude models,
that's right,
you could feel more connected to them.
And I'll get more dates. That would be a good time to go to commercial. I'm just kidding. No, but that's like you go to commercial at the high.
Yet, right.
You get the commercial at the high, and you're like, oh gosh, what's going to happen next?
Right. Well, I don't know. We're going to talk about your personal life and a little bit more of your philanthropy when we come back right after this. Youth in Politics. Don't go away. Back to Youth in Politics. Once again, I'm your host, Justin Chenette, and I'm joined with the nationally syndicated late night talk show host, Jake Sasseville. That is a mouthful.
So is my last name. I really like the way you say my last name.
Really?
Yeah.
How do most people? I want to talk about that because you actually broke a Guinness World Record, and let me just say this correctly.
Please do.
Largest can drum ensemble.
That's correct.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, when people when people are battling for this country and our troops are in Iraq, I am breaking world records for the most amount of people banging on a Pringles can. Because you know what? We all got to laugh, right?
How did that come about? Like, did you just
Pringles came to me, you know, I like Pringles. I like the brand Pringles Extreme because their whole thing when they came to me is they said, Jake, listen, we need to tell people to unleash their inner extreme. And I said, I am all about that, you people. And so Pringles said, great, let's do something together. And so they said, well, why don't you do this PR event? What do you do? And I said, well, why don't we just break a silly world record that'll get people talking? And so that, I mean, it was very simple. It was just sort of, we came up with it, we did it. It was good. We did it twice, actually.
And you did it with college students?
We did it with college students in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, when I was on the tour.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what has the response been by some of the college students across the country when you're doing, like, the music tours, for instance? Are you getting a lot of positive response?
People were really happy that Pringles brought the music tour to their campus. It was J. Cole, who's under Jay-Z's label, and We the Kings, so sort of like a pop rock and then a hip-hop act. It's really positive. You know, music is the one connector and to our generation, I feel. It really connects people. And it's the one thing that's really not going to go anywhere in terms of all the convergence and stuff. That in-person live experience, there's nothing like it. So that's why we bought the tour, and we've been doing it. It's good. It's a good way to extend the tentacles.
Right.
Yeah.
Tentacles.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yes.
You know, tentacles. I'm going to Japan in February to bring Late Night Republic to Japan.
Oh, really?
And they like two things. They like overzealous, fat, white Americans, and then they like tentacle porn.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Japan, you actually...
The best journalist in the entire country makes tentacle porn a transition into Japan. Go ahead. Yeah.
You actually you just moved to London.
Yeah.
How does that work when you're taping your show?
Well, here's the thing. I've decided not to limit to where I live. I've decided that I am a global entrepreneur. I just go all over the place.
You must rack up the mile high, points. Like
well,
in terms
the
of
mile high.
I mean the frequent flyer
please,
miles.
I need to go here. I don't know how much time we have left on this show, but let's talk about the mile high points that I have racked up, Justin, because I have quite a few. Delta Airlines. They have nice flight attendants on that flight, don't they?
Okay,
Yeah.
so you travel a lot via...
Now we have their attention back there. The people behind the cameras, now they're listening.
So you...
I travel a lot.
You travel.
I travel a lot, and it's fun, and I live part-time in London, but when we film the show, I do the show out of New York.
Okay, and so that must be expensive to travel all the time.
Are you asking me how I have money?
Yeah.
I have sponsors. Finally, we're getting to some good questions. I have sponsors. I learn how to manage my money well. You know, you get into a financial situation at one point in your life, and then you say, oh, well, I can't repeat that again. And it's all about here's the thing. My buddy Tim Ferriss wrote a book called The 4-Hour Workweek, and it's all about the idea of being rich. It's not actually being rich. People think I'm so rich because I go to London. I shake people down for their airline miles to go to London. I don't pay for that. Are you crazy? I mean, people who think, oh, I got to sort of live my everyday life, 9 to 5, all this, good for them, but there's a whole other world out there that doesn't really cost any money to partake in. It just takes, asking people and having the chutzpah and,
So do you like living in London more than you like living in the United States?
Well,
should you be saying that because you don't want to offend anybody?
No, here's the thing. I really consider myself a world citizen. I'm not American-centric. I'm not against America, but I'm not American-centric. And obviously I could only do what I do. I'm sounding like Barack Obama now. I could only do what I do in America. My story could only be possible if I was in America. Am I butchering this?
Now, when you travel around the world, have you faced any anti-Americanism in some of the places that you visited?
Well, no, because I usually smile at people.
Okay.
But in 2003, I went to France. I lived in France as a junior in high school, and I said, Mom and Dad, I'm done with the education system where I was, and I said, I want a better education, and I feel that international education is the best. So I moved to France, and that was right at the beginning of the Iraq conflict, and there was a little bit of anti-Americanism there, but generally, no, I don't really find it, especially with London. I mean, London, the people love America in London.
What's the most exotic place you've ever visited?
Probably, in terms of like untouchable, like I would think, wow, that seems so far out, probably the Congo.
Oh, really?
In Africa, which is just...
Now, do you go just to visit or to promote your show? Like, how does that work?
Well, with the Congo, I actually convinced this MTV producer to leave her job and to come with me to film a series of shows there for The Edge, for the old show back 5 years ago now. Unfortunately, they didn't air anywhere else besides online because I didn't have a plan. If you don't have a plan, it just doesn't work.
Right.
But I went there, and that's where I went there. So I went there with the UN, and I did I coordinated the whole thing. It was really cool. It was really, really cool. Yeah.
Now, some of the things that you do worldwide, there's some philanthropy that you do. Can you talk
You're
a little
so
bit about
good at
your
transitions.
schools?
You're good at transitions. So basically, we got this college campus music tour, right? And so we're on the road doing music, and J. Cole and We the Kings are on the tour. And I said, gosh, we can't just bring music to students. We got to do something more. And so then we said, well, what if we build a school for every school we go to? What if we build a school in Southeast Asia, for example, for every college campus we bring the tour to? And then I started meeting with student government presidents and SGA presidents on college campuses, and we started figuring out ways to fundraise before, during, and after each concert to build these schools. And so we've started doing it. We have 10 committed so far, maybe 11 with the Pringles, because Pringles actually said, we want in on this, and so they helped build a school. And for me, it's just about teaching people and hopefully showing by example that we don't need to be old to give back. And really our duty as humans, I find, as members of humanity, is to give consistently as we're building our own stuff, and to find ways to link the two, because the ways are very obvious. Or not, the ways may not be very obvious, but they're very possible. To link education in this country with education in the developing world, that's exciting.
Now, wrapping up our time together.
As you like.
How can people learn more information on your show, and when does it come on the air here in the state of Maine?
WPME here in the state of Maine. You can see it at 11:30 on Thursdays. And you can find out information on us at Late Night Republic, latenightrepublic.com, people. And that's all very good. And yeah, you can watch it here in Maine, which is a brilliant thing. And really anywhere. I mean, in half the country, you know, we're all, yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure.
How's my mumbling?
It's
great. Is that good?
We loved it.
You're flustering me, Justin.
We'd love to have you on the program again. You are a great guest, so thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you, Justin Chenette. No politics. I love it.
And thank you for watching Youth in Politics. I'm Justin Chenette. Remember to become aware with issues of the day, get involved in your community, and voice your opinion. For more information on our program, you can visit our website at www.ynetvlive.com. And for more information on my career path, you can visit my website at justinchenette.com. Remember, if it's Sunday and Monday, it's Youth in Politics. See you right back here next week.